I got it. Adequate notice of this regular and executive meeting, which did not occur this evening, setting forth time, date, and location, has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act on January 6, 2020, by prominently posting a copy on the bulletin board in the lobby of the offices of the Board of Education, which is a public place reserved for such announcements, transmitting a copy of this notice to the Record, the Wayne Today, and the Municipal Clerk. Roll call, Mr. Moffett.
Flag salute in a moment of silence.
Roll call first. Do the roll call
I was
first.
just looking to see if we have the recording device on, right? We were looking for
They
it.
blinked already.
Okay, all right, they did.
Yeah, we're good.
I missed the blinking. All right, would you like me to call roll, or did you want to?
Okay, we'll rise to the flag salute first. Thank you. And a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now you can do roll call, Mr. Moffett.
Mrs. Albanese?
Here.
Mr. Bubba?
Here.
Mr. Duffy?
Here.
Mr. Giordano?
Here.
Mrs. Kazan?
Here.
Mrs. Kumar?
Here.
Mr. Pavlak?
Here.
And Mrs. Shear?
Here. Mrs. Reichman? Smile. The student artwork?
Oh, student artwork.
Yeah, that's all. Then I'll go to the Eagles. Okay.
Student artwork is on display this evening in the back of the room, so please take some time to enjoy it. Caitlin Anevsky, Julia Galisi, Joy Lee, Gabriella Molinaro, Kara Morin, and Joy Zhang. Thank you for sharing your artwork.
Thank you. I'm going to step down now for a special presentation. How about now? Oh,
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Tonight we have two young men who we will be honoring for a special achievement. As a board, we are very supportive of Scouting and all it offers our students. The lessons learned are lifelong and enriches the lives of our boys and girls in ways that are immeasurable. I wanted to take just a minute to talk about the significance of the path to this achievement. Eagle Scout is the highest rank attainable in the Boy Scouts of America. Since its inception in 1911, only 4% of Scouts have earned this rank after a lengthy review process. Requirements include earning at least 21 merit badges. The Eagle Scout must demonstrate Scout spirit, an ideal attitude based upon the Scout oath and law, service, and leadership. Of those 21 badges, 13 are required, and I found those interesting. Camping, citizenship in the community, citizenship in the nation, citizenship in the world, communications, cooking, emergency preparedness or life-saving, environmental science or sustainability, family life, first aid, personal fitness, personal management, swimming, hiking, or cycling. All good things to make a well-rounded young man. That's about as a diverse group of badges you can get. The Eagle Scout Service Project, or simply Eagle Project, is the opportunity for a Scout to demonstrate leadership of others while performing a project for the benefit of any religious institution, any school, or his community. I'd like to call up our first recipient, Christopher Rodell, from Wayne Valley High School. Our plaque reads, whereas the Boy Scouts of America was founded in 1910, I found it was 11, to teach boys to be good citizens and leaders. And whereas more than 5 million young boys are members of this organization, and whereas the purpose of Boy Scouting is to inspire boys with these highest ideals of character, conduct, patriotism, and service that they may become happy and resourceful citizens. And whereas Christopher Rodell is a student and is a resident of Wayne Township and has completed the Boy Scout requirements for the rank of Eagle Scout Troop 108. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education recognizes Christopher Rodell on this special occasion and congratulates him for his outstanding achievements and special efforts in fulfilling the stringent character, service, and leadership requirements of Eagle Scout. Congratulations, Christopher. Tell us about your project.
So for my Eagle Scout project, if any of you have been near Lafayette Elementary School on Lowey Ave, if you've noticed, there is some benches and a small brick patio to the right of the school when you're facing it. That was my project. I decided to do that because I wanted to give back to my elementary school and my community. And after going to speak with the principal, we decided that we thought that project would be a good idea, would add some beautification to an area that had trailers that were recently removed, and would add for a useful space for teachers if they wanted to take their children outside during the warmer months of the school year.
For the second award, I'm proud to call up Andrew Whalen. And his plaque reads, Resolution, whereas the Boy Scouts of America was founded in 1910 to teach boys to be good citizens and leaders, and whereas more than 5 million young boys are members of this organization, and whereas the purpose of Boy Scouting is to inspire boys with the highest ideals of character, conduct, patriotism, and service that may become happy and resourceful citizens, and whereas Andrew Whalen is a student and is a resident of Wayne Township and has completed the Boy Scout requirements for the rank of Eagle Scout, Troop 108, now therefore be it resolved that the Wayne Board of Education recognizes Andrew Whalen on this special occasion and congratulates him for his outstanding achievements and special efforts in fulfilling the stringent character, service, and leadership requirements of Eagle Scout, Wayne Board of Education. And I've actually known Drew since he was a little kid, and he's always been a good kid, so I'm proud to present you. Just tell us about your Eagle Scout project.
So, my project was at a Laurel Arboretum in Pines Lake, and it consisted of removing of an old welcome sign kiosk in the parking lot that was damaged, run down. It was pretty much falling apart. So it took 3 days to complete. I removed it. I replaced a brand new one, a lot bigger, a lot better, a lot newer, and you know, it's just like a landmark in the parking lot now. It really welcomes people into the park.
Thank you, and congratulations, parents, on raising such wonderful young men. Thank you. Back to you, Mrs. Reichman.
Yes. January 19th Annual School Board Recognition Month in New Jersey. And the following resolution is on this evening's agenda. I'm very proud to read it. Whereas the New Jersey School Boards Association has declared January 2020 to be School Board Recognition Month, a time when all residents can acknowledge the contributions made by our local school board members. And whereas the Wayne Board of Education is one of 580 local school boards in New Jersey, which sets policies and oversees operations for public school district. And whereas the Wayne Board of Education embraces the goal of high-quality education for all New Jersey public school students, and whereas New Jersey's local school boards help determine the educational goal for approximately 1.4 million children in pre-kindergarten through 12th grade, and whereas New Jersey's 5,000 local school board members who receive no remuneration for their services act as advocates for the public school students as they work with administrators, teachers, and parents for the betterment of public education. And whereas school boards strive to provide the resources necessary to meet the needs of all students, including those with special needs, and whereas the Board of Education provide accountability to the public, they communicate the needs of the school district to the public, and they convey to school administrators the public expectations for the school. And whereas New Jersey can take pride in its schools, which rank among the best in the nation in key achievement indicators such as the National Assessment of Educational Progress Scores and the preparation for college through advanced placement offerings and SAT assessments. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Wayne Board of Education does hereby recognize the services of the local school board members throughout New Jersey as we join communities statewide in observing January 2020 as School Board Recognition Month, and be it further resolved that the Wayne Board of Education urges all New Jersey citizens to work with their local school boards of education and public school staff toward the advancement of our children's education. I would just like to add that each of our Wayne School Board members devotes countless hours with no compensation to the oversight and advancement of our students' education. Tonight's an opportunity to thank each of you for your time, effort, and dedication to our schools. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Mrs. Reichman. And thank you to all of
Madam
my
President,
colleagues.
if I could, if it wasn't for the pay, I don't know if I would be here.
Well, weren't we discussing that in the budget as we do every year, raising it 100%? Because that will still be zero.
Best line in the budget.
Best line in the budget. Easiest one to vote on.
I'm going to share
Superintendent's
report
report,
as well.
Mrs. Reichman.
Yes.
Dr. Toback is away at a conference, and our very capable Assistant Superintendent is standing in for him this evening. Thank you, Mrs. Reichman.
Thank you. This past week, our staff participated in a full day of in-service workshops and professional development training. Some topics included were safety and security training for our clerical staff and high school hall monitors, yoga for classrooms, restorative practices, and curriculum and assessment training. We always strive to provide meaningful and up-to-date training opportunities to best support and grow our very talented staff. This winter, we continue to partner with the New Jersey Department of Education Office of Emergency Preparedness to practice our safety drills and seek feedback about the protocols we have put in place. We have a number of school visits set to conduct walkthroughs and practice drills. Our administrative team continues to receive praise and accolades from the New Jersey Department of Education about the safety protocols we have in place to ensure the safest environment for all of our students and staff. We are very proud of the new Unified Sports Program. Games have been in session this last week, and this program was featured on ABC News. Our high school athletic directors, the Office of Student Support Services, and our Unified Sports coaches are all to be commended for bringing this excellent inclusion program to our students and schools. Our auto program also received a very nice recognition in the local papers for its partnership with Passaic County Community College. This dual enrollment partnership enables students in our auto shop classes in both high schools to earn up to 36 credits in advance of getting their high school diploma. We are very proud of this program and the work of Mr. Hopper and Mr. Bergen. I'd also like to recognize the students from our 8th grade Girl Scout Cadets troop. These students met this past week with our elementary media specialists. The students shared information about their media journey with the emphasis on me, during which they noticed that most books in our school media centers seem to include female characters as stereotypical girls with the focus on the superficial. For the take action portion of their journey, the Scouts were required to identify a need, fill the need, and share it. To fill this need and share it, the Girl Scouts presented each media specialist with a copy of the book, Strong is the New Pretty, a celebration of girls being themselves, with hopes that the book would be a truer representation of today's youth. The girls received a standing ovation from the media specialists, who were very excited to share the new book with their students. For my HIB report, during this reporting period, there were 6 incidents reported as HIB. After a thorough investigation, 2 of the reported incidents were found to be actual cases of HIB. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Reichman.
Thank you.
Now we're on to student reports. Gina?
Good evening. Congratulations to senior captain Marissa Cosentini on becoming the 2020 Girls Bowling Passaic County champion. She is a 3-time champion and led all bowlers with a game-high 236 and a series-high 627 at the county tournament. With a 32-30 victory over Passaic Valley, the wrestling team became conference champions and improved to a 5-1 overall record. Seniors Dakota Delisle and Mike Antonuccio both secured pins that were crucial to the team win. Wayne Valley CAD classes have been using our new laser cutter to good use by making plaques to commemorate local Cub Scouts crossing the bridge to Boy Scouts. Students independently created the design for the plaques and then burned them into wood. Marketing 2 classes teamed up with the Wayne Alliance to create 4 podcasts on the overall well-being of students. The marketing students chose to have the podcast series focus on school stress, substance abuse, meditation, and body image. After months of hard work, Wayne Valley IRL will be released on Spotify and YouTube in just a few days. Wayne Valley's chapter of the Junior State of America is wrapping up preparations for their second formal debate of the year. The students will be debating whether public schools should take a proactive approach to preventing gun violence. Wayne Valley's annual Poetry Out Loud competition was held on January 13th, in which students were challenged to memorize and recite a poem before an audience. Congratulations to junior Alexander Reck on his first place recitation of Son, Daughter by Kai Conradi. He will be representing Wayne Valley at the regional Poetry Out Loud in February. For their scholastic achievements, juniors Adrian Anamidji and Kelly Kim were competitively selected from the class of 2021 to apply for the Governor's School of New Jersey. They are now being considered for admission to the prestigious residential programs in the science or engineering and technology. Congratulations to sophomore Grace Sendak on breaking the Passaic County record in the 500-meter freestyle. Grace remains undefeated this season. Thank you.
Unfortunately, our other rep couldn't be here, and you did not receive a report to read? No. Okay, thank you so much. Let's see, what's next? Do you? Oh, okay. Go ahead, Mrs. Reichman.
The Unified Sports Program, Wayne Valley Unified Sports Program is well underway. The program aims to promote inclusion and empowerment of students with and without disabilities through shared sports training and competition. The program's success was recently covered on ABC's Eyewitness News. Congratulations to the senior captain, Marissa Cosentini, on becoming the 2020 Girls Bowling Passaic County champion. She's a 3-time champion and led all bowlers with a game high of 236.
Mrs. Reichman?
Yeah.
That was the report Gina just read. Do you have another one?
Oh, no, my apologies, I do not.
Oh, that's okay. Okay.
My apologies.
Well, we've heard that one.
No, my apologies.
Okay, well, then we'll move on now to our district audit report. You'll take care of the podium. Thank you so much. Catherine Mantell from Nisvagachia will give us an update on the annual audit. Thank you so much.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to discuss the district's audit with you again. I appreciate it. Again, the audit report is about 168 pages long, and I try to condense it into some major highlights that board should be familiar with. So start out with the first page, talk about the comparison of fund balance at the end of June of 18 and June of 19. And you can see that there was a $342,000 decrease from year to year. If you look at the different components, and I will highlight that those first 4 items of fund balance are already reserved and or committed for a specific purpose. So the capital reserve was up $1.2 million. Prior year excess was up from $869,000 to $1,750,000, which kept that flat going into 1920 and 2021 in terms of what is being used to offset the budget. And then the encumbrances are the open purchase orders at the end of the year, so you can see a big decrease there. Last year you had some projects that were going on in the summer of 18, and at the end of 19 you didn't have as many going on. So when you look at that, you say, oh, fund balance was down. Well, yeah, look, it was just purchase orders primarily. So then I show you what factors change fund balance in a given year. And so you budget revenues, sometimes they come in higher or lower. In this district, they're coming in higher. And I do that little mathematics there on the C1 versus the TPAF FICA, because that TPAF FICA amount of $23,252,000 is amounts that the state pays on behalf of the district for TPAF pension, post-retirement benefits, and so on. And so that money is not physically received or dispersed by the district, but it has to be adjusted in the financials in the CAFR to be reflected as additional revenue and additional expenses. And that's why I do those crazy mathematics for you. But the $900,000 of excess state aid is really, at the end of the year, you realized more extraordinary aid and non-public transportation aid than you budgeted, and the state allows you to add that to your 2%. So if you look at the top of the page, 2019 unassigned was $4,136,000. That includes the additional $900,000, and that's the amount that the district has as usable surplus. And then again, the biggest component that replenishes fund balance after you use it in a given year is what you don't spend on your budget. And I gave you the information that according to the mathematics, there was $5,151,000 that was unspent, but you did have those open purchase orders of $388,000, leaves you $4,762,000 that you truly didn't spend, and that represents about 3% of your budget. Seems pretty narrow margin. I'd just like to say to the board, to be aware of that when you go into the next budget season, to make sure. I'm always looking out for you. I'm independent, but the only thing I can do is advise and direct, and so I look at that and I say, just make sure that between your business administrator that that you'll fare well at the end of 20 going into 21 and 22. I don't see any alarm. I'm just saying it's a small margin. And then you had some capital leases that you issue each year, surplus that you used, you paid off the prior year's encumbrances, and you budgeted a withdrawal from capital reserve. So then I like to show you what gets used in the budgets, and you can see in the past the excess surplus was only $869,000. You have managed to create 1.7 that you use to offset taxes each year. And we have this discussion when the audit is complete to see that that's a good number and it can come back to you next year. And so we stay in touch with Bill to make sure that, when he gets to budget season, I say, please give me a call so that I can talk it over. Two heads are better than one, and we make sure that we have all bases covered. So at the bottom of the page, I said that, you can use additional surplus. That additional $939,000 of state aid is there that the board can appropriate at their discretion for any purpose. And, I just say that you have to use the 1.750 because that was reported as excess for the year. And then in the past, the district has used those additional appropriations of funds, and I just say, take that in stride with all the other factors to, again, make sure that at the end of 2020 you land on both feet. But you have a lot of people working in your ballpark to make sure that happens. On the second page, I just show you the changes in the capital reserve account over the year. So you started with $4,019,000. There was some interest earnings. The deposit is the resolution that you do in June for anything that's above the 2%. And then the budgeted withdrawals, and there was some money that was appropriated for capital outlay and it wasn't spent in full, so that $77,000 went back in. So at the end of the year, you have $5.2 million. And then in this current year that you're operating in, 1920, you budgeted a withdrawal of $3,253,000. So today, barring any other changes that you made, you're down to a little over $2 million in capital reserve. But the goal then is to be able to realize some savings in this current year so that in June you will have some money that you can deposit into the reserve. Capital Projects Fund is Fund 30. Those are projects that were authorized by referendum, or they could be projects that were anticipated to be take in excess of a year to complete. And so those are the titles of the projects that you had and the balances on them. total of $154,000. And then you have some SDA grants receivable. When we completed the audit, we talked to business administrator about that, and he said that it is underway. Some of those papers have been put together.
Right, the SDA information is, as we speak, even today, they were asking for information from our architect and other invoices to submit to clear up all the paperwork in that SDA grant area, yes. So yes, as we speak, we're still working on it.
Perfect. Okay, and then the district operates several enterprise funds, and you'll see the food service fund. I had to circle this for myself. What's the ending balance in 19? I show you the revenue from last year to this year just to see what the variation is. They're not big variations, but the operating transfer in is the money that the board sends over from the operating budget to support the program. That was $114,000. So at the end of the year, at the bottom, you'll see there's $245,000 in the school food service fund. It's all capital assets, and the unrestricted or operating is zero because we bring in those funds to bring it back to zero. Community Ed Safety Town Enterprise Fund. See the small variances in revenue and expenditures, and at the end of 2019, you had $651,000 left in that enterprise fund. The other enterprise fund is the wraparound program. Again, you'll see the revenue is down for 2019. The expenses were up a little, and the unrestricted balance at the end of the year was $205,000. And through discussion, Bill, I believe that you're trying to bring that down and into...
Right, we've been looking at it. As far as our enterprise funds, we're always looking to maintain a percentage of expenditures. We continue to move. We've taken some money out of that for this budget period we're in now, and we're reviewing it for next budget cycle to make sure we're at that level. So we have a little bit left to pull into general fund, but I think we're pretty close to where we need to be across the board in the enterprise funds, which include KRAP and the extended day. Those are the two big ones that we're monitoring now.
And then the last financial component before we talk about our findings were long-term liabilities. I'd just like the board to see that and be aware of what they are. So you have serial bonds outstanding on capital projects, $13 million. Bond premiums associated with those bonds of $1.479. Capital leases, each year you go out and you have leases, but in that capital leases is the ESIP lease payable that you have, so that's $12,000,003 at the end of the year. Net pension liability went down for the last, it's been in effect that has had to be reported for 5 years, and each year it's been decreasing. And I just read something today that said that their forecasts, or it's all based on actuarial data, so they estimate interest rates, and I think that that's going to be more favorable next year, and I think it's going to continue to decrease. But again, the net pension liability at the end of the year was $47.7 million, and I just remind you that that is the liability for everyone associated with the district who's in the PERS pension system, and what their pension benefits would be based on their age and other factors of their pension until they're out of the pension system. So, just to keep it in perspective. And then the compensated absences payable are the unused sick and vacation days of employees. So I think I'll take a breather and see if anybody has any questions about the finance, and then we can talk about the management report.
Does anyone have any questions on the first part of the presentation? Anyone? Okay, continue. Thank
Okay,
you.
Wonderful. So we had a couple of audit findings, and we've had a little difficulty with the cash reconciliation process. And we had this last year. There was some improvement, and I've made it clear to my staff that we want to direct the district staff and show them what needs to be done. And so there are certain transactions that are going through the system, they're not being captured, and so we've had that conversation with the staff, and we've demonstrated what needs to be done and had conversations with Bill, and changes in the staffing in the office prevented some of the things from being completed this year. I was very hopeful. So again, my staff has reached out to find out what the reconciliations look at like from July until December, so that we can again give the information to the staff, and hopefully everything will be okay for June. So ASSA, there are different categories that have to be reported for ASSA. In this little management report, we detail all those. There's low income, there's LEP low income. I looked at it, and there were some errors of maybe 1 to 49 students, which on a percentage basis was like 1/3 of 1% up to 38%. But for me, I'm saying, you know, if one person was reported incorrectly out of 4, it looks bad. It sounds like 25%, but you have to look at the overall. They were not terrible, but we felt there were a number of them, and that it bared mention that, you know, the ASSA counts have to be checked for accuracy, because you're looking at all those enrollments on a specific day, and sometimes things get a little muddled after that day. And so it makes it difficult. And then the food service management company submits an operating statement each month, and it doesn't, it's not being reconciled with the accounting records. So when we come in to do the audit, we take a look at it, and we didn't find any problems. But there have been times where we have gone into a school district and we say, you know, the revenue's off by $50,000. Why is that? And we find out that some mechanism wasn't working properly. And so it's just a good procedure to use and do on a monthly basis, so that any issue that might creep up is identified right away. So again, there were no issues. Whenever there's a difference in the revenue or the expenses, we have the conversation with the food service management company, and we were able to resolve, you know, they were reconciled. So we just think it's good practice to be doing it on an ongoing basis. And then, you know, my firm and all my gurus, we like to present you with some information to look ahead. And so we made 2 management suggestions. One was about the New Jersey Earned Sick Leave law. And there's nothing about that. Everybody's implemented it, but I know there was some gray area in terms of how you treat substitutes, and across the board, every school district that I ever talked to, everybody's doing the same thing, but we just put it out there as a heads up. And then a new GASBY statement is going to be required to be implemented in June of 20. And it's regarding fiduciary activities, which are in the district, are student activity funds and certain payroll, unemployment account. I'm thinking it's not going to have that big of an effect. I really don't see it as a big, it's not like GASB 68 and 75 reporting pension liabilities and I think it should be pretty simple. So if anyone has any comments or questions about the audit findings.
Not at this point.
Well,
Yes, I'm
sorry, I don't have
curious,
my mic on.
Ms. Reichman, can the board get numbers for the wraparound program? How many kids were in it last year? And how many are in it this year?
Sure.
And are those parents ever surveyed, like, for kids, what they like about it, what they don't?
The first year, we sought feedback, which was all very positive. You know, it's a compliment to the half-day program. We often hear from parents. Every spot is taken, which is an indication that it's a, you know, well-liked and sought-after program. But if the board would like to survey parents again, then we have the thought exchange, which could very easily be used to gather up that information.
Okay. Yeah, if we could just see numbers when you get it.
Is that something you'd like added to the Education Committee agenda,
Yes.
Mrs. Scher? Okay. Mrs. Albanese?
Just, can you give us just a little more information for GASB 84? What will be the change for student activity funds? What would they be looking for?
it'll be just the way it's being reported. So we've had standards before that just changed the title of the accounts.
Okay.
So it could be something as minimal as that. In terms of student activity funds, I mean, it's cash and it's balances usable by the students, so there's not really anything complicated or technical about that.
Will it be tied to bank accounts?
Pardon?
Would it be tied to bank accounts?
Yes.
Reconciliation of individual bank
But I mean, as far as the
accounts?
standards, I mean, some of the fiduciary funds in big entities could be like reporting pensions.
Mm-hmm.
So pension funds are much more complex than the cash and the balances in a student activity fund. So I really don't expect it to have any kind of a major impact. There were standards in the past that renamed accounts. Back in the day, it used to be fund balance, it was retained earnings, it was net position, now it's net assets. Sometimes the standards just change the language a little bit too.
Yeah,
So.
okay, thank you.
But before I conclude, and I don't want to cut anybody off, I just want to remind you, this is a very large school district. You have everything possible in the world happening in this school district. You have a financial audit, you have a compliance audit, you have federal and state funds, single audit, which goes another layer deeper, and these are the only audit recommendations that you have. You're financially strong. I just caution you, let's always stay on the same page and make sure that everybody in Wayne is, going to be taken care of, and that the district has what they need to move forward. So I want you to know that this is not usual. This is really a lot of work, and it starts at the top and it trickles its way down. And I'll add one other ending comment, and that is I only have 2 school districts who go out for the new ASSA International Certificate of Excellence, and you do here in Wayne. And so where you might have some issues, it doesn't mean you don't have any small issues or findings. What it means is that your report is technically 100% there correct. There's a 48-page questionnaire. It goes every single thing that appears in these 168 pages, and we make sure. So in Wayne, we've only had 1 or 2, 3 comments on the certificate, and they were pretty low-key. And this year, for some reason, we got hit with a whole slew of them, but then we had the pension and the post-employment benefit standard kicking in. And some of them are little and petty, but they send the comments over in a Word file, and Bill and I go through them. I actually draft the responses for you because I know how we addressed it in this year's report, and he will be submitting that soon. So that's another commendation for the district. Do a really great job.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Was everyone finished? Okay, great. Thank you so much for that substantive report, and thank you to the business office for another great year. Thank you. Good evening. Now we're moving on to the Gates presentation. Are we ready for that?
So at this time, I would like to invite up our illustrious Gates team. We're very excited to showcase our program tonight, and one thing that I would really like you to take note of is all of the work that these ladies have done to enhance the program, and in addition to servicing the students who are identified and meet the criteria to participate in the Gates program, they are offering enrichment services K through 5 to all students, and this will be evidence in the presentation. So welcome.
Good evening. We're excited to share information about the Wayne Schools Elementary Enrichment Program. I'm Linda Gallipoli. I teach at Packanack, JFK, and Randall Carter. I began teaching in 1994 and was very happy to join this district in 1997, and have been a regular classroom teacher, a basic skills teacher, and joined the Gates team in 2018.
I'm Dana Petrie. I teach at Tunis, Pines Lake, and Lafayette. I've been in education since 1991 as a high school teacher, middle school teacher, and preschool director. And I started in Wayne. I joined the Gates team in 2013 when Donna moved on to administration. So I'm happy to be here tonight to share about the program.
And my name's Sabrina Elkin. I started in education in 1992 and in Wayne in 1999. I've been an elementary teacher and a Gates teacher, and I teach at APT, Fallon, and Ryerson.
Oh, that's you.
As Gates teachers and enrichment specialists, we have a unique role in the district, but not everyone knows what that role is. Tonight, we want to share our multifaceted role and how it has evolved over the past few years. Most people recognize that as Gates teachers, we are responsible for testing, identification, and teaching math and language arts classes. But as Gates teachers, we also work to identify and meet the needs of advanced students whose needs may not be met in the regular classroom. Just as special education and basic skills instruction also targets the needs of individual learners. In addition to teaching Gates, as enrichment specialists, we provide opportunities for all students to be challenged and grow. We also support classroom teachers to help support students in their classrooms.
Over the past 5 or 6 years, there's been some meaningful growth in the Gates program. Beyond the testing, identification, and Gates classes, we work as a team to expand the program because we collaborate. We are able to do this consistently across all 9 elementary schools. As you can see on the slide, there are many areas of growth that have taken place over the past few years. We will be sharing those highlights tonight. We're excited that they have had a very positive impact on the Gates students and the Gates program. There has also been significant growth in enrichment for all students. Teacher support has been a part of our role for years, but we've been expanding that, and Linda will be sharing more information about the ways that we support teachers. And new to the program is the school-wide enrichment, which provides opportunities for all students, and Sabrina will be sharing information about our websites and our full class enrichment lessons.
One way that we support all students is by supporting all teachers. Teachers are well trained in meeting the needs of the students who are performing at or below grade level, but they aren't always provided with detailed information on how to address their high achievers. When I started as a classroom teacher in the Wayne schools over 20 years ago, there were very few resources available for enrichment support. Today, the Gates team collaborates with teachers to address the needs of their advanced learners. We provide resources and meet with our colleagues to discuss strategies for their top-performing students. In addition, we offer a newsletter that makes it easy for teachers to access the resources and contact us. Anytime a teacher comes to us and says, "I have a kid who..." we research and design appropriate interventions and materials for the specific needs of that child. We also take a leadership role within our own professional learning community. We present workshops for Wayne teachers and host and facilitate a gifted and talented roundtable that we started 3 years ago. G&T teachers from surrounding districts come together to discuss current trends and needs in gifted and talented education, share ideas, and problem solve. It's been a highlight for all involved.
In order to provide enrichment for all students, a few years ago, the Gates team approached administration asking to be able to go into the classrooms and offer whole class enrichment lessons to students on specific opportunities that were available to them. That has now grown, and we go into all 1st through 5th grade classrooms and provide students with enrichment lessons, whole class enrichment lessons, so that the teachers can have the opportunity to view their students in a different light. So these lessons focus on different kinds of thinking skills that they may not be experiencing or seeing in the classroom all the time, and then the teachers get to see them in action. The photograph on the slide is showing scientific thinking, which is really divergent thinking, looking at things with multiple perspectives. And it's always exciting to be able to see a student show something that they may not be able to reveal on a daily basis. In addition to that, we also started and maintain 2 elementary enrichment websites, one for kindergarten through 2nd grade and one for 3rd to 5th grade. These websites are open to all students in Wayne. They can be accessed through the Wayne Schools website or through the individual schools' websites. On the websites, there are different challenges that the students may engage in. one of them being math, and there's a math problem, sample problem from one of the month's web challenges. On the chart there, it's all pens are sold at one price and all pencils at another price. If 3 pens and 2 pencils are sold for 47 cents, while 2 pens and 3 pencils are sold for 38 cents, what is the cost of 1 pen and 1 pencil in cents? And if you have the answer at the end of the session, you could provide Mrs. Petrie with that, and we'll be happy to get back to you. But these are complex problems that they wouldn't really be solving on a daily basis, but it gives them an opportunity to challenge themselves. For language arts, we open the students' ideas to challenges inside Wayne and outside of Wayne. So they may be doing letters to authors. This month we have 2nd grade students creating characters for their own graphic novel, developing character traits for them and submitting to Scholastic. Additionally, we have STEM activities that change monthly. The students can participate in the STEM activities in school or at home. This month's challenge is to build a snowman, but the thing is they have to make their own snow. The pictures and photographs of the activities are noted on the website when possible. And the Gates team does monitor the website and provide recognition for the students. Teachers in the classroom can use this as a supplement to what they're doing and also provide an additional enrichment for students who need it. The links are there for you to check out later too if you'd like.
So we've covered a bit about how we support all students and all teachers. I just wanted to jump back to the GATES program a bit. As we said, we know people are familiar with our math and language arts classes, but we go beyond academics with that. We're truly passionate about working as a team to provide a comprehensive program for our students beyond just the math and language arts. Academics may come more easily for the GATES students, but they do have unique needs in addition to academics. So we focus, we're starting to focus more on the social emotional learning, working on things like collaboration and communication and self-management. In the contests, we work with the students on perseverance and goal setting and self-awareness. We have ways that we're working to engage the students across all 9 schools, and with that, we're working on their social awareness. They are in a Google Classroom where all 9 GATES classes across all 9 schools are in that same classroom, and they work on challenges together and can interact with their academic peers in that way. Some other highlights where we're working on the social awareness and engagement include our 5th grade field trip, where the students work with the students from each of the schools, and our 4th grade invention challenges, and the students are working on problem solving, decision making, and again, their collaboration and communication, while engaging with their academic peers. Lastly, another expansion we've been working on is to reach out to our GATES students beyond the few hours a week that we have them. We've worked with them with online resources and other resources that we provide to them to make their experience as challenging as possible. As we've expanded our program, it's really exciting that students have been recognized in GATES and in Enrichment. It's not just the GATES students who are receiving these recognitions. Math League and Word Masters, we've had GATES students be recognized. For example, earlier this year, the 4th grade team placed 3rd in the nation in the first challenge for Word Masters, but the other competitions like Letters About Literature, Scholastic Contests, and the invention contests, students who are in GATES and students who are not in GATES have been excelling and been recognized in these contests. So that's exciting for the students. Again, we're truly passionate about working as a team and providing a comprehensive program for our GATES students, as well as enrichment opportunities for all students in Wayne. Thank you for allowing us to share some of the highlights from our program tonight.
Thank you very much. Did anyone... Wait, don't go anywhere.
We love each other. We're a good team.
Does anyone have any questions for the ladies from the GATES program? I just want to say this is a program that's certainly evolving in a very positive way, and I like the fact that you're spreading it out to the general education students and letting them see how they can expand as well, and also giving that to our teachers so that they can see the work that you all do. And, we're spreading it around, and that's a wonderful thing. It's nice to see how it's evolved over the years. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
This portion of the meeting is open to citizens for comment on agenda items only. Residents are to state their names, addresses, and subject matter. Comments may be limited to 5 minutes per person. Members of the public are discouraged from speaking negatively about an employee or a student. The board bears no responsibility for comments made by the public. Comments regarding employees or students cannot be legally responded to by the board. Other comments may be responded to tonight or at subsequent meetings under old business. Can I get a mover?
Before you do that, if I could, a piece of housekeeping, can I just read the revision real quick? We only have one. I can sneak it in, and then can we open for agenda items?
Yes.
Because that's, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank you,
I
Madam
forgot you.
President. Okay. We just one change. It's in the area of the emergent. It's under T, Human Resources. There is just one change on item number 6, which is approval of leave request. Number 2, the ID number needs to be changed from ID number 6068, has to be revised to be 6086. That's the only change tonight.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, Mr. Moffett, I overlooked that. Mr. Pavlak, you were the mover. Second?
Second.
Mrs. Scher. So this is on agenda items only, if anyone wishes to speak to an agenda item.
Madam President, seeing no one rise, I move to close.
Second.
Mr. Pavlak, Mr. Bubba. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to committee reports. We'll start with you, Mrs. Albanese.
The Finance Committee met on January 16th. In attendance for the board, Eileen Albanese, Kathy Kazan, and Matt Giordano, along with Mr. Moffett, the business administrator. We met on an off night because we did not meet the night of the board reorganization meeting. So regarding it, we reviewed the agenda for this meeting that we're having tonight. We looked at a policy second reading. There's an agenda item tonight for the approval of additional Class 3 officers for the elementary school. We discussed the audit report presentation that you also heard tonight, and we got an update on the position control roster for employees within the district. There were no budget transfers. We looked at a schedule for the budget plan for the upcoming budget season. We did a minor review of legal bills. We got an update on the Preakness Early Childhood Center project update, and we had a discussion about the ESSA, the Energy Savings Plan, round number 2. And that was the topics for our meeting that night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Albanese. I'm going to give the Facilities and Transportation report. This meeting was this evening, attended by myself, Mr. Maso, Mr. Fennell, Mr. Moffett. It was a long meeting. First, we discussed, because of the change in committee members, although I was the only one there, the scope of the committee, just as a reminder, and then we went into the discussions of facilities, starting off with Mr. Maso this evening gave a presentation to a Girl Scout troop at APT on the topic of energy efficiency, and from what he said, they were quite engaged and interested in all the energy aspects of the school. Then we went on to the district energy efficiency presentation, which will take place here on February 6th, and that will be an update on how our schools are running and how efficient they are, and where we've been saving money with the original ESIP program, which will lead us into an update for ESIP 2. So far, that's been approved by the BPU, but it still has some hurdles to cross before we present that on an agenda. The Early Childhood Center project update was given. That's progressing well, on schedule, on budget. We discussed the Facilities Committee meeting with the BA to start the budget process for that committee. And we discussed an item about facilities use, which we recommended be sent to the Safety and Security Technology Committee for discussion and then returned back to us based on the topic. Then we went on to transportation. There's a reorganization plan in place for some different things that are being brought down from the state as far as compliance and scheduling, et cetera, and the things that we have to comply with, which will require some job description changes, et cetera. So that's in the works, and we'll hear more about that going forward. And the federal government has set up a drug and alcohol clearinghouse, which is basically a federal database for any employee, bus driver of the transportation department that is caught with drugs or alcohol during their employment. That information will now be sent to the federal level so that when anyone is ever seeking a job going forward, one of the first things that everyone will have to do is check with that database to make sure that they don't have a prior history before they're hired. So that's a good thing, and that keeps our children safe in their transportations to and from school. We also have the new driver program, training program, where we've graduated one driver already, and there's already a position for that driver because we had a vacancy, and we expect to have 2 more in time for the spring sports programs, which is a very busy time for the transportation department. We discussed the bus rotations for the coming budget. There will probably be 3 54-passenger buses required and 4 25-passenger vans, and those will be equipped with the new harness systems in the seats for the younger students so that they are safe in their transportation. And there will be no more of this moving booster seats around and making sure they're strapped in. These are actually part of the bus seat. So that's a good thing for our younger students. And finally, there is the solid waste recycling contract, which will be expiring, so that will be going out for bid shortly. And that's the report for facilities and transportation. Okay, now we're going to move on to the administrative items. K. Can I get a mover?
Madam President, if I could, if we can move K through U together.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Duffy and Mr. Giordano would like to move.
And that's K through U as
through
in
U.
uniform? An emergent policy? And then leave V,
K
W,
through
and X for
U.
separate?
PQR. Well, don't we have to start with K through Q before we go to emergent items?
Some people want to.
I think we have to do K through Q, Mr. Duffy, and then on to emergent items. Is
That-
that
that'll be
correct,
fine.
Mr. Moffett?
Well, I'm also making, first of all, that's K to U, right? And then I think we do have a J item, right? And then we have 3 items, V, W, and X, so.
Just didn't save any time with all this discussion. That just took more time than just.
Well, the emergent items start with R. Am I incorrect, Mr. Moffett?
Yeah, but we're at a regular meeting, right? These
The
were carried
regular
over
meeting
from
goes
the.
up to Q.
Yeah, but
Change your.
That's fine.
You have R.
The PWS.
I'll make a motion J to Z then. That's fine.
Oh, you want to include minutes?
Let's get this correct,
All right.
Mr. Duffy.
So Mr. Duffy
Hold
is
on.
moving J through
X.
J through X.
What the heck?
Perfect.
Right
Thank
up to
you.
the emergent.
So, Mr.
What's in the whole
Bubba, is Mr.
agenda?
Giordano, are you in
That's what
agreement
he
as a
just said.
second?
He said Z.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll
Let's
second
for
move
J
the
through
rest
X.
of the agenda is a consent agenda. Is that correct, Mr. Duffy?
Yeah, he's trying to go.
That's exactly what I meant.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion on the rest of the agenda? Apparently, we're moving the whole thing. Are you okay with that, Mr. Moffett?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, so you
Yes.
understand the motion and the
I
second?
understand the
We're
motion
good
is
to go?
the whole, the
Any
consent agenda.
discussion?
As amended.
Ladies and gentlemen? Okay. Roll call, please. Thank you.
All right. J through X as amended. Mrs. Albanese?
Yes.
Mr. Bubba?
Yes.
Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Mr. Giordano?
Yes.
Mrs. Kumar?
Yes, except for the, sorry, yes, except for the emergent school resource finance item number 1. I abstain from that one.
As it relates to you, okay. His name. Mr. Pavlak?
Yes to everything. On school resource, emergent school resource O, number 4, the class 3 specials, I'll abstain.
And Mrs. Shear
Yes.
and Mrs. Kazan.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now we're going to the second public portion. This portion of the meeting is open to citizens for comment on any topic. Residents are to state their names, addresses, and subject matter. Comments may be limited to 5 minutes per person. Members of the public are discouraged from speaking negatively about an employee or a student. The board bears no responsibility for comments made by the public. Comments regarding employees or students cannot be legally responded to by the board. Other comments may be responded to tonight or at subsequent meetings under old business. Can I get a mover?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Mr. Bubba, Mrs. Albanese. This is the last public portion on any item you'd like to address the board. Sign in, state your name, and we don't need their address, do we? Okay. Your name and your address, please. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brian Canisi. I live at 47 Larkspur Road, and my son Nicholas plays on the Wayne Valley varsity soccer team. I come here tonight in support of our head soccer coach, Mr. Sam Rocca, who was recently asked to resign from his post. My son and I were shocked and outraged by this development, and so are many of the people who joined me here tonight. Members of the board, I have been an educator for nearly 25 years. I currently serve as an elementary school principal. I've attended many board meetings in the districts where I've worked, and I know that in matters of personnel, you cannot and will not answer specific questions about employees. Therefore, I'm not here to interrogate you. Rather, I'm here to present you with the perspective of those parents and players who support Coach Rocca, since it seems the opposite perspective has already been presented, entertained, and endorsed. Unfortunately, this past soccer season was not as enjoyable as it should have been. Not because of the players, not because of their record, but because of the behavior of several senior parents. Right from the beginning of the season, it became clear to me that many of them had it out for Coach Rocca, and there seemed to be an agenda to have him removed. On several occasions, insulting comments, unfair criticisms, and profanity were directed at him from the stands. And while it's not totally uncommon for a coach to hear criticism from time to time, I myself had some criticisms of him, this was excessive. Consequently, it created a highly negative atmosphere for nearly every game. To Coach Rocca's credit, he maintained a professional demeanor throughout this ordeal when many coaches would have lost their composure. Why was this happening? Because their sons weren't getting enough playing time? Because Coach Rocca was mean and unfair? Because he was playing freshmen and sophomores instead of all the seniors? The last time I checked, this was a varsity sport. Varsity sports are competitive. Players have to earn their spots on the team and their playing time. It is not a recreational league where everybody plays equally. This was not a reality for many of these parents, and so they lashed out. They complained to our athletic director, and some of them might have even complained to you. Unfortunately, their voices were heard, but others were not. Back in November, myself and other parents wrote letters of support for Coach Rocca to the athletic director. I have time-stamped copies here. But we never received any kind of acknowledgement or response. Why? Why weren't our voices considered when this decision was made? It seems only one side of the story was taken into account, most likely because of the ongoing correspondence between this group of parents and the athletic director. Ladies and gentlemen, if you allow Coach Rocca to be relieved of his post, you are making a very bad mistake, and you are setting a very dangerous precedent. If you allow a group of parents who encourage entitlement, misrepresent the facts, and demonstrate poor behavior to influence your personnel decisions, none of your coaches are safe. Coach Rocca is a great coach and a great man, My son has played for him the past 2 seasons, and he holds him in the highest regard. Not only does he teach the kids to be better players, but most importantly, he teaches them to be respectful, responsible citizens. This is evidenced by the fact that he has his players sign contracts to maintain acceptable grades and standards of conduct. How many other coaches do that? As a parent of a Wayne Valley student athlete, what matters most to me is not titles, wins, and losses. What matters most is how your programs will shape my son to be the best man that he can be. Coach Rocca is helping my son to do just that. And I will fight to ensure that a group of parents who will not even be here next year will not rob him of the experience he deserves. Members of the board, you have a problem here. A problem that's not going away because we're not going away. I strongly and respectfully urge you to reinvestigate and reconsider this decision that was made. Consider all of the facts. Consider all of the voices. Consider whether those who made this decision gave Mr. Rocca proper due process. But most importantly, consider the kids who stand to lose the most in this ordeal. Sam Rocca is our coach, and we will continue to fight for him until he is back where he belongs, coaching our boys. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, board. My name is Stacy Lupo, 36 Woodlot Road, Wayne, New Jersey. I'm also have been the Booster Club president for soccer for the last 2 years and involved in the soccer program for the last 6. It was not my intention to speak tonight. I have provided letters of information and copy to all of you via email, and there are also copies of recordings, documents, and all correspondence that was sent to Mr. Drozdok and the Wayne Valley administration regarding personal issues for students that had issues with Coach Rocca this year. I commend all these boys for being here tonight. They're all great kids. Unfortunately, as you can see, there's about 9 children here. There were 31 children rostered on the Wayne Valley Soccer Boys program. There's 72 kids in the program, roughly. And as you can see, out of that, many are not here. And some are not here because of the way they were treated very unfairly this season. And as yes, there were parents who some of these other parents have had issues with. I urge you to review all the documents given to Mr. Drozdok about the unfair treatment of those children, the humiliation of those children, the bullying of those children, and the degrading of those children. I will not speak for their personal circumstances, and I was not going to speak of mine, but as those of these parents who say they appreciate that their Coach Rocca was a role model to them, my son was also a senior this year. Our issues were not with playing time. I spent an hour and 45 minutes in a meeting with Sam Rocca and Mr. Drozdok and voiced all my concerns. They're very clear nothing was done behind his back, and none of it had to do with playing time. As a parent, and as all of you being involved in the Wayne Valley School District, Wayne Valley sports is not just about winning. It's about sportsmanship, camaraderie, teamwork, and everyone working together for a cause. I myself has a son who is going on to play at the collegiate level. When I asked Coach Rocca if he could have my son start one game so that 3 college coaches that has to come see him could come see him play for the final decision on where he would be going to college, which is what everybody's dream and aspirations are for when we set off to have our kids do these activities. The answer was no. What kind of coach tells his player who's played for him for 4 years, no? That is the type of coach that Coach Rocca was to my son. And as I did not want to come up here and personally speak because the stories are personal. And I just commend you all to not only listen to them, because there are 2 sides to every story, and I believe every person's side should be heard, and everybody has truly valid points. I urge you to go through those documents. I urge you to speak to those children, because those are the ones who've been devastated along the way. No one is in a good situation. This is a horrible situation for everybody. No one wants to see teams ripped apart, coaches dismissed. But the damage that was done, not just this year, last year, it goes back to 4 years. I urge you to reach out to some kids from 4 years ago. There are beautiful college essays written about the damage that was done to children along the way in the Wayne Valley soccer program over the last 5 years. I will leave you with that, and I trust with you that you will all look into the facts. And whether the facts side or side against, I think it's important to see both sides and do what's best in the interest of our children, because our kids deserve more. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Stuart Kennedy, 3 Matthews Road. I am a parent of 3 soccer players that have previously played. 2 of them, they're seniors this year and are moving on. I have had my problems with Coach Rocca, with my 2 children, but I have a 3rd one, and all 3 of them played varsity this year. He is a freshman. And for the kids that are sitting here now, it is the varsity team. It's not the freshmen or the JV, it's the varsity captains who ask the varsity players to come here. Yes, we've had some rough times. Been here 4 years with Coach Rocca. Coach Rocca's coached my younger son and about 7 of those kids sitting there for the past 6 years at the club level. They're incoming freshmen. Next year they'll be sophomores. There's about 11 of them that he has been coaching for the past 6 years. I've had my problems, as stated, with 2 of my seniors with Coach Rocca this year, which I addressed with the athletic director and coach himself. I do believe that Coach Rocca is an example for the kids. These kids look up to him. He's a Wayne Valley high school soccer player, all-state, all-county, Division I soccer player, played professionally. He does set goals. He does set contracts. Every high school varsity football game, he makes our children be home at 9:30. He calls each one of them to make sure, doesn't matter if you're a varsity, JV player, he wants these kids to have responsibility. He makes them dress properly, coming to school game days, county conferences, state conferences. He's got a code of conduct for these children. These kids are here in support of Coach Rocca. Like I stated, I've had my problems, but I have a child that's got another 3 years here, and he asked me to come and speak on behalf of himself and these 9 or 10 kids. Use 10 kids. If you guys want Coach Rocca back, would you please stand? If you don't, remain seated. As the board sees, this is the varsity soccer team. Yes, they are all underclassmen. 4 of them are probably 4 or 5 of them are freshmen. The rest are sophomores and juniors. There's not a senior here. The seniors are already moving on. I have 2 seniors that are going to college myself. I strongly suggest that this board reconsider bringing Coach Rocca back. Because if you don't, if Coach Rocca doesn't come back, boys, are you going to continue to play for the soccer team? Yes or no? If you're going to play for the soccer team, Coach Rocca doesn't come back,
That's not fair.
remain standing. If you're not going to play for the soccer team, Coach Rocca doesn't come back,
Sir, this is...
remain.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, this is the public portion, and you only address the board. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just trying
I'm
to
just
explain to
explaining
the
the rules.
board, and I want the board to understand the
We hear
importance
you.
of this. Otherwise, you're going to have a soccer program. Second thing, what I also want to address. Coach Rocca carried 17 seniors, 2 of them which were my sons, which were both starters, and at the end, 1 wasn't a starter. That's where I had my issues with Coach Rocca. But you can't carry 31 kids for a team sport that only can field 11 players. It's impossible. You're carrying 17 seniors.
Yeah, at this point, I just want to restate again the warning that we had given to members of the public about
The board cannot comment upon personnel matters.
I'm not asking the board to comment on personnel matters. I'm just saying.
And I also just want to point out for the public that they have their own personal liability potentially for saying damaging things about individuals. So I just want to be on record for the board to remind the public about that.
Well, I'm not saying anything damaging about Coach Rocker or the athletic director. I'm just saying you can't carry 31 kids. I've been with the program. This is my 5th year here. You can't carry 31 varsity players.
Through the chair.
There's only 11 that can play.
If I can.
Okay, are you finished, sir? Are you timing this, Mr. Muppet? I haven't heard a...
Yes, I've timed it. I paused it at both Mr. Geppert's and now Mr. Duffy.
Ladies and gentlemen of this board, it's basically your decision. As I stated earlier, I've had my own problems with the coach, but we don't know what we're going to get. These boys are here. He's been coaching a lot of these boys for the past 6 years at the club level. They're incoming freshmen. They're going to be sophomores next year. He has a nucleus of players. Unfortunately, if your kid is a senior and there's a kid that's a freshman or a sophomore and he's better than your child, this is not rec. This is varsity competitiveness. Just because your kid's a senior, that doesn't mean he's entitled to start. He's got to earn that position, ladies and gentlemen. So, like I said, I'm retired military. I'm retired 31 years in law enforcement. I do what you do now. I'm consulting for the Hudson County school systems as a consulting for active shooters and all their lockdown and their safety drills. I strongly ask you to consider, we can't make everybody happy. There's 31 parents, there's 31 players, they've all got mothers and fathers. Everybody's not going to be happy. So I just wanted you to hear from everybody. Unfortunately, the people that are complaining, their children are outgoing. So I don't know what the big problem is. And I'm friends with Mrs. Lupo, very good friends with Stacy.
That's your time, sir. I'm sorry
Okay,
to cut you off, but
thank you very
we have
much.
to continue the meeting. Everyone gets 5 minutes. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the board? You can have one more bite of the apple, sir, yes. If there's no one else that wishes to speak. Okay, then you will be our last
Just
public portion.
one question for the board to consider, not to answer. If there had been ongoing problems in the past with players with Coach Rocca, and I'm not quite sure how long any of you have been on the board, did you hear from them last year? Did you hear them the year before? Or is this new, this year?
There's
If
no
it's new-
cross-dialogue.
I'm sorry?
There's no cross-dialogue.
No, understood.
Oh, I thought you were
No,
waiting
this is
for an answer.
rhetorical for you to consider.
Okay,
I
thank you.
don't require an answer. But please just consider if this is new this year, or if you heard problems in the past, last year, the year before that. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else?
Madam President, see no one else rising, move to close.
I'll second.
Mr. Pavlak, Mr. Duffy? Okay. Are there any board comments? Mr. Giordano?
They're not here right now, but I just wanted to make a comment and a congratulations personally to our 2 Eagle Scouts, Christopher and Andrew. As a former Cub Master, and I'm also a merit badge counselor, you don't know how difficult it is to become an Eagle Scout and what you have to go through to be an Eagle Scout. And some of the finest people I've ever worked with are former Eagle Scouts, and I just want to send a note out to those families. Congratulations, a job well done, and thank you very much. And it's another example how great this town is to show us turning out Eagle Scouts like this all the time. It's a great program. Thank you.
Okay. New business? If I could get a mover to convene into executive session for a very quick matter.
I'll move.
Second.
Mr. Duffy, Mr. Giordano. There will be no action taken by the board, so there's no reason for anyone to wait around. And just one final comment. We do not discuss personnel matters here. We do have an internal process. That process is ongoing and will be followed. And that's all we can state publicly. Thank you for coming. Have a great evening.
Yeah, the reason we're going into close is pending litigation?
It's a legal matter, and there will be no action taken.